Go lift the lid off your toilet tank. I mean, right now, before we start. Set it down flat on a towel so it does not chip, and take a look inside. Here is what is supposed to be in there. Clean water, a rubber flapper sitting at the bottom over a hole, a fill valve standing up on one side with a float on it, a little chain running from that flapper up to the handle arm, an overflow tube in the middle. That is the whole machine. 5 parts and some water. Now look again. Is there anything else in there? A blue tablet, a white puck in a little plastic sleeve hooked over the overflow tube, a brick down in the corner, gone soft at the edges, a bottle of something. And if the water in there is blue or green, or it smells like the shallow end of a swimming pool, you already have your answer. I will tell you something. In 30 years of crawling around under other people's bathrooms, the number one reason I get called out to a running toilet is not age. It is not hard water. It is not the brand. It is something the homeowner put in that tank on purpose, because a package told them it would keep things fresh and clean. Uncle Ray had a line about it. He said a toilet tank is the only machine in a house that folks will willingly fill with bleach and then act surprised when it quits on them. He was right. He usually was. So here is what we are doing today. 7 things that do not belong in a toilet tank. 7. And I am not padding the list to get there, and I am not stretching past it. Each one, I will tell you what it does to the machine, and exactly what part you end up buying because of it. Real parts, real dollars. And every bit of this happens inside that tank, above the floor, with the water shut off. No permits, no license. Now I will always tell you where the line is, and it is this. Gas lines, main sewer work, anything needing a permit pulled that belongs to a licensed pro, and I will not pretend otherwise. A toilet tank is not that. A toilet tank is yours. One more thing before we count. One of these 7 does more damage in 6 months than the other 6 do in 6 years. And it is not the brick. Nearly everybody guesses the brick. I will tell you which one it is when we get there. Stay to the end, too, and I will give you the short list of what you actually can put in a tank. There are 4 things that are perfectly fine, and almost nobody mentions them. Before we start counting, you ought to know where fixes like this come from. None of it is mine. It is shop knowledge, passed across a truck bed and quietly going away. It deserved to be written down. So it got gathered into a digital book, 101 Ways to Unclog Any Drain. 101 Methods, sorted by where the trouble is. Kitchen sink and disposal, bathroom sink, tub and shower, toilet, laundry and floor drains, and the main line. The toilet section is the other half of today's lesson, because the tank holds the rubber and the bowl holds the clog. To pick it up, hold your phone camera toward the code on your screen and keep it still until the link comes up on its own. Or skip that, and the link is sitting down in the description. Take it slow. Nothing is going anywhere. Finish the video first if you like. Number 1. In tank chlorine and bleach tablets. This is the one. It is probably in your tank right now, and it does more harm in 6 months than everything else on this list does in years. Here is why, and here is the part people skip. A toilet tank is still water. It is not a sink. When you pour bleach down a sink, it dilutes, and it leaves. When you drop a tablet in a tank, it dissolves into 2 gallons of water that just sits there, all day and all night. And the heaviest, strongest solution settles to the bottom of the tank. What lives at the bottom? The flapper, the flush valve seal, the tank-to-bowl gaskets, every piece of rubber in the whole machine. So that rubber sits in strong chlorine around the clock. Rubber has softeners in it that keep it flexible, Chlorine strips them out. The flapper goes hard, then it goes chalky. And if you rub it, your thumb comes away black, then it warps. And a warped flapper does not seal, so water creeps from the tank into the bowl all night long, and you never hear a thing. That is a silent leak. It does not stop at the flapper either. The fill valve seal hardens. The tank to bowl gaskets weep, and you find a damp spot on the floor behind the toilet, and you think the bowl is cracked. It is not. It is those gaskets. The trip lever behind the handle pits and corrodes. Here is the tell. The major flapper manufacturers will tell you flat out that an in-tank chlorine tablet voids the warranty on that flapper. They put it in writing. When the company that makes the part says their own part will not survive your cleaner, that is the ballgame. I have pulled flappers 6 months old and hard as a bottle cap. The same flapper in plain water goes 5 years without a complaint. The fix takes 10 minutes. Shut the supply valve at the wall, turn it clockwise, flush and hold the handle down to drain the tank. Reach in and take that tablet out, sleeve and all. Wipe the tank down, then look at your flapper. If it is stiff, chalky, or grooved on the sealing edge, replace it. A flapper is $5 to $10. Match the size, 2-inch or 3-inch, take the old one with you. It unhooks from 2 little ears, and the chain unclips. That is it. Number 2, a brick. Now this one comes from a good place, and that is why it hangs on. Back in the 70s, when toilets used 5 and even 7 gallons of flush, folks put a brick in the tank to take up room so less water filled in. Save water. Good instinct. Bad brick. A common clay brick is not sealed. Sit it in water for a couple of years, and the edges soften, and it starts shedding sand and grit. That grit does not float. It settles at the lowest point in the tank, which happens to be the flapper seat, the ring the flapper presses against to hold water back. Grit under a flapper is a leak every single time. Worse, that grit grinds a groove into the seat, and once that seat is scored, a brand new flapper will not seal either. Now you are not buying a $5 part anymore. You are looking at pulling the tank off the bowl to replace the whole flush valve, which is $50 to $150 in parts, and most of your Saturday, or $150 to $250 to have somebody come do it. And here is the other half. If your toilet was made in the last 30 years or so, it already runs on 1 gallon and 6/10. Steal water out of that and you get a weak flush, and a weak flush means you flush twice, and 2 weak flushes use more water than 1 good one. You saved nothing. If you truly want displacement on an old high-volume tank, the right way is a plastic water bottle. Fill it with water, cap it, and set it in a corner where it cannot touch the flapper, the chain, or the float. No grit, no shedding. Costs you nothing. Number 3, pouring straight bleach in the tank. This is what happens after somebody hears the tablets are bad. Fine, they think, no tablet. I will just pour a cup of bleach in there myself. Between you and me, that is the same medicine in one big spoonful. A cup of bleach sitting on your flapper overnight is rougher on that rubber than the puck ever was. Hear this part clearly, because it matters more than any part cost. Never mix bleach with anything else in that tank. If somebody in the house already dropped in a dye cake, or if there is an ammonia-based cleaner in there, you are mixing chemicals in a small room with the door shut. That is not a plumbing problem. That is a hospital problem. If you do not know what is in there, flush it out with clean water and use nothing. The right way to clean a tank costs nothing. Shut the supply, flush it empty. Take a sponge and plain white vinegar and wipe the walls and the waterline ring. Vinegar takes mineral scale right off. Stay off the rubber where you can. Rinse, open the valve, let it fill, and flush twice. Done, and every seal in there is still soft. Number 4. Blue dye cleaner cakes. These are cousins to number 1, so everything I said about chlorine on rubber applies here too. But the dye brings its own problem, and it is a sneaky one. Here is the part people skip. The best diagnostic tool in the trade for a toilet is the dye test. You put a few drops of coloring in the tank, you do not flush, you walk away for 15 minutes, and then you look in the bowl. If there is color in that bowl, your flapper is leaking. Simple as that. No tools, no meter, no guessing. Now, if you have a blue cake running in that tank around the clock, the bowl is already blue. Always. You cannot run the test. You have blinded yourself to the one problem that cake is actively causing. It creates the leak and then hides it from you. They stain, too. The tank goes blue and stays blue, and on older porcelain where the glaze is worn, that color soaks in and does not come out. So pull it, flush the tank until the water runs clear, then run an honest dye test. Color in the bowl in 15 minutes means a new flapper. Here is why that is worth doing today. The EPA figures a silent toilet leak can run up to 200 gallons a day. 200 gallons every day, quietly, on your water bill. 9 times out of 10, that is a flapper. Number 5. Essential oils and fragrance hacks. This one comes off the internet, and it sounds harmless. Put some drops of essential oil in the tank so the bathroom smells nice every time you flush. I understand the appeal. It still wrecks the machine. Oil and water do not mix. The oil floats and it coats. It leaves a film across everything at the waterline, on the fill valve cup, on the float, in the flapper hinge. And oils are solvents. Citrus oils especially are hard on rubber and on some fill valve plastics. They swell the seals, and once a seal swells, it does not go back to its old shape, so it never seats right again. Then that oily film grabs every bit of grit in the water and holds it against the parts that move. I have opened tanks with a rainbow slick sitting on top and a fill valve that would not shut off. That is a $10 to $15 fill valve and about 20 minutes, which is not the end of the world. But you paid it for nothing. Fragrance belongs outside the machine. Spray the room. Use a rim clip that hangs in the bowl if you want. Just keep it out of the tank where the rubber lives. Number 6. Pool chlorine pucks. Now you might be thinking, nobody does that. I promise you they do. There is a bucket of pool pucks in the garage. The tank looks grubby, and it seems like the same idea, only stronger. I have walked into houses and found them sitting in the corner of the tank. This is number 1 turned all the way up. Pool pucks are made to treat thousands of gallons. They are many times the strength of anything sold for a toilet. In a 2-gallon tank, they do not clean anything. They cook it. Rubber that should last 5 years is finished in a few weeks. Brass and chrome corrode, and the plastic goes brittle enough to crack in your hand. And this is a safety line, not a money line. So please take it seriously. Pool chlorine in a closed bathroom gives off fumes, and if it meets an ammonia-based cleaner, it makes gas you do not want to breathe. If there is one in your tank right now, open the window, open the door, put on a pair of gloves, do not handle it barehanded, shut the supply, flush the tank down, get it out, and get rid of it the way the pool product label tells you to. Then fill and flush that tank several times to carry the chemistry out. After that, replace the flapper and check the fill valve. Number 7. Anything you are storing in there. The tank lid is a shelf to some folks. I have pulled a toilet brush out of a tank, a spare flapper still in its bag, coins, a bar of soap, a crescent wrench that the last person to work on it forgot about, and one time, a cell phone, which I will not explain because I do not know either. Here is why it matters. That tank is a machine with three things that need clear travel. The float has to rise and fall. The chain needs a little slack and no more. The flapper has to swing up and drop straight back down onto its seat. Anything sitting in there can foul all three. Something drifts under the flapper cannot close, and you have a running toilet. Something leans on the float and holds it down. The tank never stops filling and water runs out the overflow tube. Something props the float up. The tank does not fill, and your flush is weak. Something snags the chain. The flapper hangs open. Every one of those looks like a broken toilet, and none of them are. Then there is the tank itself. Porcelain is thin and brittle, and a heavy object dropped in cracks it. A cracked tank does not get patched. Not with epoxy, not with tape. You buy a tank, and if the model is old enough that the tank is no longer sold, you buy a whole toilet. The one exception is the water bottle I mentioned, filled, capped, and set clear of everything. That is the corrected version of the brick. Everything else comes out. So let me put the whole bill in front of you, because this is what those shortcuts actually buy. A flapper is $5 to $10 and 10 minutes. A fill valve is $10 to $15 and about 20 minutes. Once the flush valve seat is scored, you are into $50 to $150 in parts with the tank off the bowl, or $150 to $250 for a service call. And underneath all of it is the water bill, because a silent leak the EPA puts at up to 200 gallons a day is money leaving your house every single day while you sleep. Not $1 of that had to be spent. Now here is what I promised you, the short list of what is fine to put in a tank. Hydrogen peroxide, the plain brown bottle kind, about a cup once in a while, for a tank that has gone cloudy. It breaks down into water and oxygen, and it does not linger against the rubber, not as a routine. Denture tablets, 2 or 3 of them in a tank that has mineral haze on the walls. They are mild, they fizz the scale loose, and they rinse right out on the next flush. Dye test drops or a few drops of food coloring, used the way I described, then flushed clean. That is a tool you use for 15 minutes, not a tenant that moves in. And last, a dispenser that is actually engineered to keep the chemistry away from the rubber. Either the clip that hangs under the bowl rim and never touches the tank, or an in-tank unit built to release only into the flush stream rather than sit in the standing water. Read the box. If it says bowl only, or it says it is safe for the flapper and the seals, that is the one you want. If it is a bare puck that sits in the water, put it back on the shelf. That is the whole thing. Your toilet tank is not delicate, and it is not complicated. It wants clean water and good rubber and nothing else. And if you give it that, it will run for years without asking you for anything. If today was useful to you, that same way of thinking runs straight through 101 Ways to Unclog Any Drain. It is a download. 101 Drain fixes covering every drain under your roof, from the kitchen disposal all the way out to the main line, done with cheap things you already own instead of a truck in the driveway. Scan the square on your screen with your phone or tap the first link underneath this video. And subscribe to the Vintage Pipe Fitter while you are here, because more old-school plumbing know-how is coming every week, and it keeps real money in your pocket. One last thing, a free one, and it takes 10 seconds. When you put that new flapper in, take a pencil and write the month and the year on the underside of the tank lid. Then, 4 years from now, when the toilet starts running again, and you are standing there wondering, you flip the lid, and the lid tells you. If it says 4 years ago, it is just the flapper's time, and you swap it. If it says 4 months ago, something in that tank is eating your rubber, and you already know from today's list what to look for. Costs nothing, saves an hour of guessing. Next time out, I will show you how to set the chain slack on a flapper properly, because too tight and too loose both cause running toilets, and most folks get it wrong by half an inch. Keep your tools where you can find them, and I will see you on the next one.